Okay, I start the recording. Let me unmute myself.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I think we will later maybe check if anyone is joining in the waiting room, then we will just add on as we go. But we'll begin with the training now, as we have a lot of things to cover today. Okay. Okay, so the agenda for today, we'll be covering Planet products, and then we will just touch on a brief general understanding of all the terminology like category cable, fiber, and then network switch, PoE switch, all these. Yeah. So we'll begin. We are carrying Planet products for I think more than 2 years already. So Planet was established in 1993. The products are actually made in Taiwan, and they are distributed in different countries as well. Yeah. So they basically have a few core values. Innovation is one of them. So they have some IP or patents for some of their products. Then they have a quality as well. And then they have sustainability as well. Yeah. So these are the core values for Planet. So Planet carries a range of products from industrial Ethernet, PoE, normal LAN switches to fiber switches as well. They do carry some other product range, but we only bring this on project demands. Yeah, we don't carry the whole range itself. We only bring in on project demands. Okay, so their target markets is actually in various locations, so ranging from factories to telecommunication to data centers to transportation and some home users as well. So the range of their products can be applied to a lot of industries in the market. Okay, so along the way, if you have any questions, you can either leave your questions on the chat group, or you can just unmute and ask your question. Then we try to get back to you. Yeah. Yeah. So Carl, please look at the chat group for any questions. Okay. So as I mentioned, Planet's core value is innovation. So they have some patents in on their hand. So one of them is something to do with intelligent PoE management. So this is one of the patent that they carry, and then they have another patent for their unique LCD network switches. So they have a patent for this as well. They have around 3 patents for this. So if let's say you are going in for a tender, this can be a unique selling feature for the Planet products. So if you spec this into the tender, this is one of the unique selling features in the tender specs that you can put in to lock down your product in the tender specs. Okay, that's all about Planet. So we'll move forward. Okay. As you know, in the market, there's a different type of category cables. So now the more commonly used in the market is actually Cat6, and moving forward will be Cat7. Yeah. So Cat6, as you can see, is based on 1 Gbps, and Cat7 is pushing 10 Gbps. Okay. So you can see the category cable. There's a difference in the type of the make. So this one usually Cat6 is a UTP, that means it's unshielded, or STP. So that means it's shielded. Okay. For Cat7 is SFTP, that means it's shielded, and then each twisted pair is also have a foil. Yeah. So this is what you can see as I mentioned just now. So Cat6 is have 4 twisted pairs, and then there's one shielding. And then for Cat7, there's an individual foil for each twisted pair, and then there is a overall shielding as well. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned just now, that one is a category 6 cable. We also have fiber solutions as well. So fiber, I think there's a few commonly used connectors in the market. So we have a ST, LC, SC, and FC. But the most commonly used is LC and SC. Yeah. So depending on the distance that you're trying to extend, you either use a multi-mode or single mode, and then you use the connector as well. Yeah. So this is just a general guideline for fiber specs. Yeah. Okay, so we move on to network switch. So Planet have a few ranges of network switch. They have unmanaged and a managed network switch. So this one we're covering is an unmanaged switch. So this is a unmanaged gigabit. So you can see we have a ranging from 16 port, 8 port, 24 ports. So you have a 5 to 24 port range. Yeah, and then this is unmanaged. So this is supposed to be a plug and play. So you just for one time off deployment, you just plug and play all your devices in the network is up and running. Yeah. So we focus on one of the models. So this is a JSW2401. So you can see here there is 24 ports of network ports here. So each port is a gigabit. So support up to 1 gig. Okay. And then they also support auto negotiation. So if you have devices which is falling under the 100 meg speed, they will auto negotiate to 100 meg speed. Yeah. Okay. So this one also supports MDI. MDI is a term used for in the older days. If you want to connect from PC to PC, usually you need a cross cable. So this one you just use a normal straight cable. You can actually still connect to another PC. Yeah. Okay, this is a general application guideline. As you can see, this is for maybe an organization, a small organization. So you have the users desk with a PC connected to a smaller edge switch. So maybe this is in a cluster of 4. So you see this is a 100 Mbps connected to here, which is an edge switch. Then from edge switch upstream to the core switch is a 1 gig. So the connection from the edge switch to here is a 1 gig. Then from here, you can actually connect to the internet. Yeah, so this is a general application guideline for a small enterprise. Okay, so moving forward, we have a managed switch as well. So managed, we have a layer 2 and layer 3 as well. So later we will give you a general guideline of how to choose your managed switch. When do you need to use a layer 2 or when do you need to use a layer 3? Okay, so this one, as you can see, we have a chassis type and also a small 1U rack mount type. So depending on your application, we actually recommend to you which one to use. So for this one is majorly used for like a telecom backbone or very huge deployments requiring a lot of nodes. Yeah. And then whereas this one can be like within one organization, you can use multiple switches to stack. So if let's say you deploy one first, and in future you want to add on, you can just stack one more on top of this. Yeah. Okay. So we focus on one of a switch that we for manage. So this one is actually a 16 port gigabit switch. Okay. You can see there's another 4 fiber ports here. This one is a 1 gig fiber port. So this can be used for uplink and downlink to another switch. And then this one is another 2 10G fiber ports. So if you have multiple switches that you're cascading and then the backbone exceeds this uplink and downlink, you can actually move forward using the 10G fiber connection. Yeah. So this one is actually a layer 2 plus. So it's there's some feature from layer 2 and there's some feature from layer 3. So this is in between. Yeah. Okay. We'll move forward. So this is an application for the managed switch. So as I mentioned, you have devices which is using 1G connection. It goes into the Cat6 connector network port here. Okay. Then you can have other devices in the same network, which is running a 10G fiber connection back into the managed switch. So this is one of the application which you can use. Another application is when you have a different location and you also want to have a redundant connection. So let's say you have 3 different departments in the same organization. So you have department A, department B, and department C. They are connected, interlinked between all these switches with 2 10G fiber. Okay, so this fiber, it can be one for primary and one for secondary. So in the event that one link is down, you can have a redundancy to use the second link for transmission. So this you can see is a ring topology. So depending on your topology of your deployment, you can actually configure all the switches to transmit the data between each other. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so next we have is a PoE switch. So compared to network switch, PoE switch supports both data and power. So if you can see here, we have different types of PoE. We have PoE, which is up to 15 watts. We have PoE plus, up to 30 watts. We have a PoE BT. So BT is a type 3 is up to 60 watts. And we have a BT type 4, which is up to 100 watts. Yeah. So depending on your project requirements and your application, you can actually choose a switch for your project. Okay. So this one, as I mentioned, it supports both power and data. Yeah. So compared to the network switch is only data. This one is power and data. Okay. So we focus on one of the managed PoE switch. So you can see here, this is actually one of the special switch from Planet with a LCD. Yeah. So this LCD, there's a few things which you can do with this LCD. You can monitor the devices which is connected to this switch, and also monitor how much power is being consumed by the switch. Yeah. So this one is a PoE AT. So it's up to 30 watts of power per port. But you have to take note that each switch have a maximum power budget. So this one, the maximum power budget is 300 watts. Yeah. So if you have some devices can consume more power, some devices will consume lesser power. So it's depend on your the device category. So those PoE cameras, maybe you only consume 15 watts. If you have PoE IP phone, maybe you consume more with 30 watts. We'll touch on the application part later as well. Yeah. So this switch, as I mentioned, is a managed switch. So you can have a fiber uplink as well, and then you have a normal gigabit connection to other devices. So if this one can connect a PoE device, this one can connect a non-PoE device. Yeah. So this is one of the good point for this switch, where if you have already 24 ports already fully occupied, you still have another 2 ports which can connect to other devices. Yeah. Okay. And then as I mentioned, this is one of the patented product for Planet. So you can actually do PoE monitoring. You can monitor how much power is being consumed, if the devices is still alive. So if let's say maybe one of the ports is down or offline, you can actually see on the LCD itself. Yeah. And then if let's say the device supports PoE alive, so you can actually send a packet to check whether the device is alive or not. Yeah. So this it can be used for troubleshooting in the event, let's say the switch is down, the switch connection is down between the camera or the device. Then you can actually troubleshoot. Yeah. Okay, so this is another application. So imagine you have 24 cameras. Okay, so 24 cameras being connected to the switch, all being powered by PoE. So it supply power and data at the same time. So the LCD console can actually display the consumption, and if the switch is alive, I mean the port is alive, if the device connected, so it actually can show. If it is not connected, it will show as offline. Yeah. So this can be located in the control room. Then you can do a fiber connection to the monitoring center. Is a NVR or DVR can pull all the stream. Yeah. Okay. So let's say the person monitoring realize that one of the camera is down. So first level of support, they maybe mention, okay, camera is down, go and find out. So you can actually go to the switch here and see which port is down and do a troubleshooting from here itself. So once you figure out which camera is down, you can actually go to the physical camera and do your troubleshooting. Yeah. So the LCD is actually quite helpful for your troubleshooting diagnosis. Okay. Okay, we move forward. So we will just covered all the normal network switches. So that one is for indoor environment. So now we also have an industrial switch, which is also having unmanaged and managed. And this one is dominantly used for outdoor environment. So as you can see here, the operating temperature for these industrial switches, it can range from -40 degrees all the way up to 75 degrees. Okay. So let's say you have this switch mounted in an enclosure outside in the hot sun, or maybe different weather condition in another country, which is raining, or maybe it is also very cold weather. Yeah. So industrial, this is unmanaged fast Ethernet. So it's 100 Mbps. You have ranging from 4 ports all the way up to 8 ports itself. Yeah. And then being industrial switch, you need to have a redundancy built in. So some of them have a redundant power supply. You also have a fiber uplink and downlink. So for these models here. Okay. So that was a fast Ethernet. That means it's 100 Mbps. We also have a unmanaged gigabit industrial switch. So you can see here the same thing is also DIN rail mounting. Have an external DC power supply. Also have redundant power supply, and also you can see that it's from 4 ports all the way up to 8 ports onwards. Yeah. Okay. So this one, as I mentioned, is used for extreme weather conditions. That means it's outdoor. So you need to have your deployment outdoor. You can consider using an industrial switch. Okay, so next we'll move on to the general understanding of layer 2 or layer 3. Yeah, so you can see here the OSI model, actually there's 7 layers, and then layer 3 is actually considering full features. So you can do routing, and then you can also do like a wide area network. So you can do management of data up till that level. Whereas layer 2 is can do like handling of devices from IP, using IP and MAC address as well. Yeah. Okay, so when will you need to use a layer 2 or layer 3 switch? So this is maybe a small guideline. So let's say your requirement for your this deployment uh, require only uh, like devices to be plugged in and then up and running. So you don't need to do any management. Then you can actually consider layer 2. But let's say you are stacking multiple switches, you consider layer 3, because you need to route the data from one switch to another switch. So it's more efficient if you choose a layer 3, where you can determine the data being transferred from different switches, and also can determine like the topology itself. So if let's say it's just a layer 2 switch, it's just a plug and play. There's no not much configuration of how the data is transferred from one switch to another switch. Yeah. So usually we recommend layer 3 for stacking. So if you have multiple switches, we ask you to go for layer 3. Okay. Okay. So we have an industrial switch which is also managed. So this is in the event that you require multiple switches to be connected to one switch. Yeah. So this is as I mentioned, industrial. So you can withstand extreme weather condition. It supports 1 gigabit transmission per port, and then they also have a DIN rail and a flush wall mounting. This is another unique selling product from Planet as well. So if you have application where you want to put inside a very small enclosure, you can use this because it's a flush wall. If you have a bigger enclosure, you can choose the DIN rail mounting. So all of this is external DC power supply, and also have a built-in redundancy as well. So you can see they also have a fiber uplink downlink for this model. So you can connect from switch to switch, and you can configure the data packet to take the correct route. Okay, then we have a layer 3 managed industrial switch as well. Also the same. We have a DIN rail mounting, and we also have a rack mount. So rack mount is usually mounted inside a normal rack, a 19-inch rack. Okay. These guys have a external AC or DC power supply option. Also have a redundant power supply, and they also have a digital input output. This one I'll talk about this later. Yeah. So this one can help you to do like a triggering of certain features which is built into the layer 3 switch. Yeah. So this one it can be either copper, or it can also be fiber as well. So if you require like a fiber transmission from one location which is far away, come back to this core switch, then you can consider using this as well. Yes. So this one we have a few different product range. You can see here we are ranging from 8 port copper and 8 port fiber, all the way to multiple like fiber as well. Yeah, like 24 ports or 20 ports fiber. Okay, so just now this is just a normal switch. We also have an industrial PoE switch. So industrial PoE switch, as I mentioned, the difference between PoE switch and a normal switch is it supply both power and data. So this is a PoE AT, so supply up to 30 watts of power, and this is 100 Mbps. So that means it's only fast Ethernet. Okay, so if you have maybe one-off deployment with 4 cameras, you can just plug in here. They power the cameras. Yeah. Then we have unmanaged gigabit as well. So just now this is unmanaged fast Ethernet. We have unmanaged gigabit as well. So let's say you have devices which are having one gig of data channel, then you can use this. So you can power up and also transmit data at the same time. Okay, so these are the options you have for unmanaged gigabit PoE AT power switch. Yeah, so you have a wall mount and also have a DIN rail mounting as well. Yes. Okay, so you can have starting from 4 port all the way up to 8 port PoE. So this also follow the same terminology as a normal PoE switch, as even though each port support up to 30 watts, they have overall power budget. Yeah, so you need to take note when you are doing your project sizing. Okay, so that was unmanaged. So we also have a managed gigabit PoE industrial switch. Yeah, so you can do management of the data being routed from one switch to another switch, and also supply power and transmission at 1 Gbps. Yeah. So these are the products that is available. Okay. So you notice these two products here is quite unique. So you can see that this is for extreme weather condition. So this actually weatherproof with up to IP50 rating. Yeah. So if you have a application which require extreme weather conditions, you can actually propose this product. So inside this connector, it is actually a Cat6. So it supply power and also data at the same time. Yeah. So you can see that there's 4 ports all the way up to 16 ports over here. Okay. And then as I mentioned just now, there is a digital input and digital output. So digital input and digital output, what is this digital input and digital output? So there is actually a contact on top of the switch where you can actually connect to the so-called a sensor. So the sensor can actually trigger certain features built into the managed switch. So for example, you want to connect to your SNMP email server, you can actually send out a notification when there's something wrong, maybe one port is down or what. Yeah. And then if let's say the enclosure is open, so someone force entry into the thing can actually also trigger. Yeah. And then let's say for the output, right? So you can connect to a maybe a lamp or a light. So if let's say the power failure, you can actually do a trigger. Yeah. So this is a unique feature which is built into the industrial switches. The normal switch won't have these kind of features. If you have application which require this, then we recommend you to go for these industrial switches. Okay. Okay. So just now it was a layer 2. We also have a layer 3 as well. So layer 3 we have a multiple product type as well. So these are actually layer 3 gigabit PoE industrial switches. So they support AC DC power supply. They also have a redundant power supply input, and they have a fiber uplink and downlink. Okay. So this is the layer 3 gigabit PoE managed switch. So we have the rack mount type, and we also have the DIN rail mounting type. So depending on your project requirements, we will actually propose this accordingly. Yeah. So this is all PoE AT, so up to 30 watts of power and data per port. So what to do if you have more requirements? You need more than 30 watts. So we have a PoE BT. So PoE BT is up to 95 watts or even 100 watts. So we can use this switch here to power up even digital signage displays. Yeah. So we'll touch on this when we covering the use case or application for all the network switches and PoE switches. Yeah. So 95 watts of power is a lot of power. So you can actually do even lighting as well. So depending on your project requirement and application, you can actually select the PoE switches respectively. So this one is a 4-port. So it support 95 watts of power per port. So this one is overall budget is around 300 watts. We have another model which is this one. This is an unmanaged BT. So you have a total power budget of 240 watts. Okay. So this is a 4-port PoE BT capable and 2-port normal Ethernet and another 2-port SFP. So being industrial, it support extreme weather conditions as well. Yeah. So I think I'll just highlight all these industrial switches all require external power supply. Yeah. So there is no built-in transformer. You need to buy an external power supply to supply the DC power to the switch. And then depending on the power supply you buy, the power budget also varies. Yes. So if you want a higher power rating, you need to buy a higher power supply. Yeah. Okay. So we also have a layer 3 PoE BT switch. This one is a layer 3, so you can actually do both data and routing. So where will you use this? So imagine you have a multiple PTZ cameras. Then you can use this in this application. PTZ cameras consume more than 30 watts, maybe 60 watts, or some even up to 95 watts. So you can have multiple PTZ cameras connected inside the switch, and then they can be in one location. Then it can be pumped to another location with multiple PTZ cameras, and then back to a core switch. Yeah, this is one of the application for this kind of industrial switch. Okay. So what we have been discussing is all switches. So with multiple input and output. So we have also injectors. So injectors is used when you require power and also data. So let's say your core switch is just a normal network switch, but you need a device to be powered by PoE. Then you can use a PoE injector. So the ones below here is a PoE AT type. We have a non-industrial and industrial type as well. So depending on your use case, if it's an indoor or outdoor application, you can select the PoE injector respectively. Okay. We also have a PoE splitter. So if you have a core switch which is supplying PoE, you can use a splitter to actually split the data and power separately. Yeah. So we also have industrial and non-industrial type for the PoE splitter as well. Okay. So you can see that if you're using the splitter, you can actually do 5 volts or 12 volts DC conversion. And then for industrial type, it can be 12 volts or 24 volts. Okay.
Mush, I think you have to. We use unsplitter. Why we are what and on what condition we use we need the PoE splitter.
Okay, so let's say you have devices which you need to supply power in a different location. So let's say your core switch is a PoE switch. So the power is being supplied through Cat6. So your power is transmitting all the way to the device, but the device doesn't have a Cat6 input to actually receive. So that means it need to be powered by a DC plug. So you can use a PoE splitter to convert the Cat6 separate into a power only. Yeah. So that means your device which doesn't have a Cat6, you can actually power using a normal DC plug. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to make it simple is that if the device is non-PoE and your switch is a PoE, so how to bridge the gap? That is where the PoE splitter
comes in. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, so just now we were discussing is PoE plus, so it's only up to 30 watts of power. We also have a BT up to 60 watts of power. So if this is for more power hungry devices, so you can inject power up to 60 watts. If your core switch is a normal network switch and you need to supply power to your PoE device. So we also have two types, the non-industrial type, and we also have an industrial type. Okay, so it can supply up to 60 watts of power and data in one channel. So what will happen is from your network switch, data will come in here, and then you supply power from external input into this guy, and then you come out as a one port of data and power combined. Same goes for splitter. So splitter, we have a BT as well, so it can supply up to 60 watts of power. So it can be 56 volt DC at up to 50 watts of power output. So the Cat6 cable with power and data will come in, and then you split into DC and data separately. So we have two types as well for PoE splitter, non-industrial and industrial type. Okay, so we just run through a brief one on the PoE splitter family. So depending on your requirement for the power, you can actually select a respective device. So this is all indoor, they will be outdoor. So this can be used for like a general guideline. So if let's say you have an outdoor application which requires 12 volts and up to 60 watts of power, then you can actually use this PoE 171S. And then you only require 30 watts of power, you can use this 162S. Yeah, this is for splitter. Okay. This is an application for PoE injector. So as I mentioned, you have a normal or a PoE switch. This is a splitter. So a PoE switch, it come in with data. Sorry, this is a normal switch. So this is a data only. So data only come in. So the device will actually take power from external input, and then you combine both the data and power and supply outside to the maybe a AP. So if it's an access point, you supply both data and power. Yeah. So this is the PoE injector. Okay. So for splitter, this will be the use case. So from a normal switch, so for this use case, you can see a normal switch is injected with power using the PoE injector. So the channel which is coming with data and power will go into the splitter. So you separate data and power. So you can plug into a signage or can plug into any device which require DC power and this DC rating. Okay. So for industrial application, it's the same thing. So from the switch, data comes in. Okay. Then you have a DC power input. So you combine the data and a DC input, supply both data and power to a camera. Okay, so the camera would also be able to transmit the data back to the switch. Okay, so as you all know, PoE injector, splitter, or switch all confined to network standard. Network standard is 100 meters. So if beyond 100 meters, what do you do? So you need to use a PoE extender or even a normal range like a extender, a range extender, yes. So for this case, it's a PoE plus extender. So it support up to 30 watts of power. You can extend and also supply power at the same time. Okay. So what do I mean by that? So you can take note, this is a models which is available for the PoE extender. This is for AT type, and then this is for BT type. So BT, as I mentioned, is up to 60 watts of power, or I can go up to 95 watts itself. So you have a non-industrial and industrial type. Okay. Okay. So extender. How do you use extender? So you have a PoE and data coming in, which is already 100 meters long. You can add in a PoE extender, which will repeat the signal for another 100 meters. So your actual distance of extension is 200 meters. This is using Cat6. Yeah. So total transmission can be up to 200 meters. So if it's a normal network standard, it's only up to 100 meters. So you add in an extender, it will help you repeat and boost up the power for another 100 meters. This is a use case for PoE extender. Okay. This is another use case. So let's say you have a PoE injector, which is injecting power to a normal data link. So you generate 100 meters of data and power. And then after 100 meters, you need to add in another extender. You extend another 100 meters. So actually, this is used to extend the distance up to 200 meters. Okay. So this is another use case. So let's say the control center has a core switch inside here, and then you're running 100 meter PoE plus PoE plus data. So you go to a so-called a PoE extender. This will extend another 100 meters. So let's say your camera is here. So this camera is actually 200 meters away from the control center. So you actually extend the signal another 100 meters here. If not, your camera has to be limited by the range of this location here. So you can, this device has 2 ports, so you can extend up to 2 devices. So you can go to 2 cameras and then back to the core switch, which is in the control center. Okay, so this is extenders using normal Cat6. We also have a PoE extender over coaxial. So over coaxial, the transmission medium is actually using a coaxial cable, which is a RG6 75 ohm cable. Yeah, so this one support up to 30.5 watts at 1 kilometer range. So just now you notice we can only extend another 100 meters if you're using a PoE Cat6 extender. Now, if you're using a coaxial, can go up to 1 kilometers. Okay. Okay, so this is just a general guideline or general knowledge. So we can have a PoE product to power up all these devices. So it can be a AP, can be an IP phone, can be a camera, can be a PTZ camera as well. Okay, so this is up to 30 watts. Okay, we have up to 60 watts or 95 watts application. You can actually look here is we can do thin client or digital signages as long as you can meet the power requirement. You can power up POS system, digital signage, and even lighting. Okay. Okay. So next we will move on to media conversion. So media conversion, as you all know, is a convert from one medium to another. So that means you convert from Cat6 to fiber or fiber back to Cat6. Okay. So we have the same thing. We have an industrial type and a non-industrial type. So for non-industrial type, mostly for indoor application, you have over here we have these media converters, and we have an industrial type as well. So for outdoor application with extreme weather conditions, you can use the media converter here. Okay. We have different models. Just take note of the models. So if let's say if it's a single mode or multi-mode SC connector, you can use this model GT802 or 802S, and GT805 is our famous model which we sell quite a lot. It's a SFP based, so you can buy the SFP transceiver separately depending on your fiber specifications. Okay. So we also have a PoE media converter. This one is just a normal media converter. And this is from data to data transmission. This one is a data and power. So we have a data and power. So you can have a fiber which come in. So the fiber will convert it to Cat6 and at the same time be injected with power. So this is something which you can use as well. You might be thinking, where can I use this? So imagine you have a very far away camera. So the camera is being maybe 1 kilometer. So you lay a fiber which is 1 kilometer away, and then you come to this box here, and power is injected here and convert to Cat6 for the camera usage. Yeah, and then the data can be sent back 1 kilometers back to the control center or command center. Okay. So this is all based on gigabit. Yeah, so all this model is based on gigabit speed. So we also have a 10G. So the upcoming market is all moving up to 10G. So if you have a 10G requirement, we have a 10G media converter as well. Yeah. Okay. So where can you use a media converter? So for example, this is one of the use case. So imagine you have a ISP, internet service provider, in one location. So they have all the media converters in one of the levels, and then they can have different location actually pump back the data through a fiber back to the ISP, internet service provider. So it can be different location or fiber back to the central location in the ISP, internet service provider, and then he can do monitoring on from their side. So you can see here this product is actually a chassis. So Planet has a chassis type media converter as well. So if your requirement, you have a multiple media conversion required at the same location, you can consider the media conversion chassis. Yeah. Okay. Another application is maybe for local intranet or WAN application, where you have a headquarter in one location and you have a branch office in another location. So you can pipe the data back through media conversion. So from here is a Cat6 convert to fiber, pipe the data across a longer distance, go back to the headquarters, and then change back to Cat6 again. Yeah. Okay. So just now we were talking about the GTP series, which is actually a media converter with a PoE. So for this requirement, right, you can actually see here, we have a command center, a control center in the center here. Okay, they lay fiber all the way to the cameras, which is being monitoring different sites, be it a harbor, freeway, or railway. So the fiber is going all the way to the location, depending on the range, and then there's a power being pumped in from here. So you power up a PoE camera through a Cat6. So then the data is also transferred back to the control center through fiber back here. So you can also see here. So over here you can see if you're using a PoE splitter in conjunction with a media converter as well. Yeah. So let's say the camera here is just a normal camera. It doesn't have a PoE capabilities. So you can convert fiber to Cat6, and then at the same time split the data and power to power up your camera. Okay. So this is the usual use case or scenario for media converters. Yeah. So it's basically convert Cat6 to fiber for a longer range of transmission to a centralized location for easy access and monitoring. Okay. As I mentioned, we also have the long reach PoE over coaxial. So coaxial transmission distance is up to one kilometers. So you can see here, from the central location, you can actually pump the Cat6 data over coaxial with power to another location, maybe a lamppost which has a camera, and then you can convert the coaxial to PoE Cat6. So this one carry both PoE and data. Okay. So this is another solution. So this is for multiple ports of PoE. So if you have this is a 8-port PoE over coaxial solution. So if you have multiple cameras which is located far away, you can use this product. It's a LRP822CS. So you can actually extend the range and then at the same time convert back to Cat6 using the receiver. So this one will convert the coaxial back to Cat6 again. Okay, so that was coaxial. So for Cat6, you can also do a so-called extension by this is called like a daisy chain method. Okay, so you can see here you can actually extend up to a maximum of 500 meters, and you can see the power maximum is around 12 watts. So over the distance, the power will drop. Okay, So if your camera is able to handle the power rating, you actually supply up to 12 volts of power at 500 meters. So this is a PoE extender over Cat6. So you can see from the core switch, you can go up to 500 meters. Yes. If it's just a normal connection, maximum you can only reach is 100 meters. So now you can do a cascading or so-called a daisy chain and achieve up to 500 meters. Get back to us and we will be happy to share with you for your project requirements and needs. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and ask the questions. You can also send us email if you need the slides for today. Anyone has any questions to ask Moose for today's sessions?
Yeah, you can either unmute your mic or you can send through the Zoom messaging. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, you can see that the network, the earlier part,
okay.
Yeah, in the earlier part, you can see that most cover the various type of network switches, managed or unmanaged, and then under the category you have industrial, and then the non-industrial kind of version, and then we have a PoE, managed and unmanaged. So there is quite a fair variation of the networking solutions, and you can see that PoE switches are getting very common today. Most installer now deploy using the PoE camera. So for easy installation, you just want network cable, you can transmit data and also power up the PoE camera. And now the trend now is that the AV is also moving very strong in the trend of PoE. We'll show you some solutions about AV over IP. In fact, those AV over IP, those products are also PoE today. Yeah, so you can have a PoE switch and connect to them. That's it. It be power up, and then you can do the work. And also you have KVM over IP. That KVM over IP, that device can also be PoE device. So you will see a trend that the professional AV are moving very strong towards the integration with IT. All right. So the backbone is a networking switch, and then you connect to the network switch, and you can send video. You can send USB. USB, that's where you have keyboard and mouse. Yeah. And I think eventually, I think Dante already also have announced that the Dante network were able to send video, not just the audio. Yeah. So these things are evolving very fast. And I think as time goes by, the adoption rate of Pro AV over IP will get stronger and stronger. All right. So anyone, any questions before we call it a day? I think the next topic, maybe we'll focus more on the overall solutions on the professional AVs over the IP solutions. That means it's the integration of AV over IT. What is the trend now, and what are the available solutions in the market today, right? So that could be our next topic, yeah? Anyone, any questions? No, Moose, you want to say something, then we wrap up? All right. Yeah. So, okay, so thank you guys. If you need the slides, just send email to us, send to sales@simplyconnect.com.sg.
Yeah, so you got any questions or any queries, also can drop us an email at sales@simplyconnect.com.sg. Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you all. See you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.